Hi, Sunday School, we're back and we're talking about sparkling wine again, and this time we are talking double fermentation.
What wines use the process of double fermentation, Martin?
Well, the main wines are Champagne and Cava. And double fermentation, you might see it also called the traditional method, and you might see it as the Champagne method because they're using champagne.
So we talked about in part one of this, which you should go back and watch, part one of Sparkling Wine, about how method ancestral is made. That's called single fermentation, where you make wine you make wine in here, before it's done fermenting, you transfer it to a bottle. Wow, that's a bad bottle. And it finishes fermenting in the bottle. Go watch that video. In double fermentation, what happens is you make still wine. The CO2 disappears into the air, as we mentioned in the first video. And still wine just means it's not sparkling, but you finish the wine in here. So wine, done. Then what you want to do is you want to take this wine, put it in a bottle, and then you add more yeast and more sugar. And then that yeast and sugar ferments a second time, hence double fermentation, 1, 2. It ferments that second time in the bottle, but you've capped it. And so now that CO2 is trapped in there.
And that's going to be, you're going to get a lot more bubbles, if you like. It's going to be stronger on the bubbles than doing it with the single fermentation, which is kind of weaker, because this whole thing is happening all over again.
Exactly. You're fermenting completely as opposed to just transferring it mid-fermentation. So there's stronger bubbles. Then there's a lot of rules here. So then what happens is, here's a bottle of sparkling wine. Let's pretend this is not finished yet. You have that crown cap on there. You have that yeast sitting on the bottom of the bottle, finished fermenting. So then what happens is you have all these bottles like this. You want the yeast, the dead yeast, which is the third product of fermentation. You want that yeast to give that wine, thanks Martin, that basically that yeasty, brioche, biscuity character that champagne especially is known for. So you want it to sit, it's called the lees. So you want it to sit on the lees for a while. And but you also don't want it in there forever, because that's gross. You don't want it to be cloudy. Unless you're drinking a pet nat, which then it's not gross, it's amazing. So basically you have the bottle like this. Somebody comes in, it's called a riddler, and that person turns the bottle little by little. It takes 6 weeks if you're doing it by hand and not by machine. And that dead yeast, the lees, slowly inches its way to the neck of the bottle. Then what you want to do is you take the bottle and you flash freeze it, and you want the yeast right here to freeze and become a solid bit. And then you pop open that crown cap, and the pressure from the CO2 / bubbles in the bottle will push out that solid bit. That's called disgorgement, and that's what clarifies the wine so that it's not all cloudy and weird. So then you have this little bit, right, with nothing in it. So you want to add something both to top it up, number one, and number two, because sparkling wine is very acidic, and so you want to balance that acidity. So much in the same way you would add sugar and cream to coffee, you're balancing that. So it doesn't necessarily have to taste sweet, but it will balance the acid and just taste balanced. And so that is called the dosage. And however much if you've seen those terms on a label that say brut or extra brut or brut nature, or extra dry, any of those things, that refers to the sweetness of the sparkling wine, which is directly related to how much sugar is in that dosage when you add it in there. And then you put a cork on it and a mousselet, which is that crown, or the cage thing, and there you have it. Sparkling wine, easy peasy, right?
That's it. Thanks for listening, and if you want to find out more about what we do at Sunday School, the classes we have, and if you want to download our free ebook, which is all about how to read a French wine label, go to sundayschoolwine.com.
Bye!
See you later.